Well, hi there. This is this old man. Uh, well, huh, here we are. Today is July 25th, 2026. This is that old guy. Used to be this old man, but everything got confused with some children's songs, so here I am. I'm probably gonna monthly protection report, view full report, run smart scan, close, and never see this again. Uh, yeah, here I am I'm actually in the dining room. Behind me is the living room in our two bedroom, uh, two bath condo in Tigard, Oregon, on a golf course overlooking the golf course in the rear of the condo. And I guess the first thing I have to share is that, yeah, I guess I might be classified as someone who's, I don't know, well to do, I suppose, but not very well to do because shit, here I am sitting here drinking McDonald's coffee on Saturday morning, hoping that they remembered to put 2 cream in it. So this this little video is really kind of a warning to some of you younger guys sitting there playing computer games, pretending that nothing's wrong with the world as long as you have a laptop in front of you, or I don't know, your fucking Xbox or PlayStation or whatever the fuck it is that you're managing to suckle off of until you're at least 30 and beyond. And that's okay. Keeps you out of trouble, I suppose. But here I am, an old man, just turned 78. Yeah. Hopefully, on my way to my 80s. I don't, my mother just passed away in March. She didn't quite reach 101, but she did reach 100. Then she got just a little bit ditzy, and her health went down considerably in a very short period of time. That's a phenomenon that is common in my personal experience with a previous husband, partner, if you will. That's one of his lamps back there. That's one of his lamps over there. See, you young guys are going to inherit a lot of shit. Some of it's worth something, some of it's not. Depends on your circumstances and so forth. So, um, what I really want to talk about is the broken system that we're in, health wise. And I'm about ready to take amoxicillin, an antibiotic. Now, why am I taking it? Because I just had your teeth extracted, a lower molar, an upper, whatever it is, bicuspid, bisexual, whatever it is. And why do they have to be? The upper one had an abscess. Well, in December, the one right next to it had an abscess. Why all of a sudden did this old man start to experience abscesses in his teeth? And how was he going to get that information worked into his overall health picture, which is a strange piece of shit. Um, I'm right now. I'm Our health system is broken. I'm on Medicare, so I'm well taken care of. It's just that I'm well taken care of in terms of services, in terms of finances, but not in terms of diagnosis. Because what we have is a health system where uh, Medicare has allowed itself to be uh, invaded by special interest groups, and they're providing me with what's supposed to be a service. Uh, 6 months of protection, one reward just for you. Claim your reward. Get out of my life. God, I hate pop-ups. At any rate, back to the Medicare crisis. Um, yeah, so what they've done, and particularly through United Healthcare, that's my Medicare supplement. They've created this system where you're really assigned a primary care physician. You can go into their website and change it, but it won't stay that way. It won't work. They'll keep going back to putting you back with the person they want you to be with. In my own case, I was with the same primary care physician from 2013 until I moved here from Salem, Oregon, until I moved here to Tigard, Oregon, only about 45 miles up the road, uh, this past August 2025. And what that meant was I went from having all of these individual service providers, specialists, if you will, who kept. I'm an elephant carcass. I'm that elephant that the blind men are poking at, and they're trying to describe to each other what this elephant is. You know, one says it's a snake, one says it's this, one says it's that. Well, when you combine, when you have a lack of communication between, first of all, just start with your damn dentist. How does your dentist communicate with the rest of your healthcare team? Combine that with a primary care physician who you've chosen, but you know, I got a new one here in Tigard. She was with Providence Group. Providence is big. It's one of the old Catholic uh, systems here in Portland, Oregon, and they're their own healthcare provider, have their own program and all that kind of stuff. And I was just trying to get in there because my previous partner, Daryl Deathley, who passed away 2 years ago, was very much in using the facilities at Providence in Newberg, Oregon, down the road 15 miles, and at the Barnes exit, big one, the big Tiger, for the big Providence Medical Center. And coincidentally, my original hospitalization for what turned out to be a diagnosis of You got to stop and catch my breath. And every doctor, every specialist tells you the different reason that I have to stop and catch my breath. I was hospitalized in Connecticut in 2004 after me and a friend I'll call Marijuana John, who had been my best friend since college, had been traveling up and down the East Coast, and we ended up in an old cabin in the dismal swamp in southern Virginia. And in the cabin, the roof had just been blown off by a tornado. Uh, the plywood and all around the cabin, there was black mold everywhere. And we went back up 95, and by the time we got to New York City, um, I was sitting in a bar in Greenwich Village one night, having just eaten lunch at a restaurant a couple blocks from the World Trade Center disaster site in 2002, no less. And my hand started to swell, and I was running a fever, not 105, but close. And so they took me to, first of all, the clinic in Norwalk, Connecticut, and they couldn't control my fever. So I was admitted to the hospital, and I suspect I was probably placed in a medically induced coma that I wasn't aware of for a while there at Norwalk Hospital, which is a uh, facility affiliated with Yale University Medical School. So I assume I was getting the best possible treatment. And at the time, I wasn't on Medicare. I was a special ed teacher for an Oregon state agency, one of the local education service districts. And so I had really good coverage there. At any rate, here I am in Norwalk, Connecticut. I wake up from whatever, I guess a coma. They have no idea what's wrong with me. And they simply put me on a jet and send me back to Los Angeles, Marijuana John's place. And while I'm, and they send me with, I don't remember what ridiculous antihistamine they put with me. But yeah, there I am sitting there, and all of a sudden I'm running a fever again. All of a sudden, Marijuana John's taking me to Cedar Sinai, and they give me, let's see, I don't remember I guess Cipro. See, the problem was that was at a time when everybody was afraid we were running out of antibiotics, and my condition was looked at as an infection of some kind. And I suppose it was, but more than anything, it was a toxic exposure to a chemical that's produced by black mold uh, in wet plywood. The mold eat uh, urea formaldehyde glue that bonds the layers of plywood together, and then it sits there for a while until some really nice hot day in the summer, particularly in attics. And this mold blossoms, and just like pollen from a flower, it produces spores, and the spores go out into the atmosphere in the numbers in the millions, and the spores uh, have now taken the urea formaldehyde, digested it, and now the spores contain a toxic substance called uh, let's see, it's a rocket fuel component, called, doesn't matter. It's a hydrazine at any rate. And in fact, there is an OSHA protocol for aerospace workers who are exposed to monomethylhydrazine, which simply calls for them to receive prednisone, bed rest, etc. Well, I wasn't put on prednisone until the next time this happened to me, which was at North Bend High School in North Bend, Oregon, where I was teaching special ed for South Coast Education Service District in a classroom where the ceiling had been damaged by a storm and water leaked in, and the district couldn't afford to do anything about it, even repair it, replace it, or remediate it, whatever. And sure enough, well, here's an area that's on a hot day producing essentially sending into a area where fragile kiddos, all of my students were medically fragile. And I was medically fragile. And here we are breathing in monomethylhydrazine. Well, I ended up in another medically induced coma in Coos Bay, Oregon, my home at that time. And my doctor then had the good sense to consult with Oregon Health Sciences University for a person who actually wrote the medical textbook subject, Dr. Alan Barker there back in the day. And we got a diagnosis of hypersensitivity pneumonitis. Well, that simply means that for whatever reason, your lungs are producing or reacting to some toxic substance. And instead of, well, quite simply put, your lungs start producing fibers that line the interstitial walls of your lungs and rob you of oxygen to the point that you die eventually without oxygen. And so what my doctor, Dr. King, North Bend Medical Center, got that information and put me on prednisone. Oh, I don't know, maybe for several months. And, other than the fact that it made me very hyper and I managed to clean out all the closets in the house, I also took it when I went to Paris that summer, 2008, pardon me. And at that time, I took with me a portable oxygen generator, a bunch of batteries, which got carefully inspected at customs, but I didn't use it once because prednisone was very effective. Prednisone treated all of those fibers in the interstitial walls of my lungs, and within no time, I was fine. I was fine until 2004. And all of a sudden, my cardiologist started noticing, oh, well, in a stress test, you take a long time to recover uh, from after your heart's been placed in stress. And we knew we had an aneurysm and all that kind of stuff. But my pulmonologist, because the medical records had never been properly sent up from Coos Bay to Salem, Oregon, my pulmonologist never really saw those records, had no idea, I don't suppose, about the significance of what happened to me in 2009. It's a long time before that. And so I managed to get one of my problems was arthritis. Here you go, babe. What does that look like? Does that look like uh, rheumatoid arthritis to you? Well, it's not. It's psoriatic arthritis. Might as well be rheumatoid arthritis. They're both about the same thing. So my rheumatologist saw that, qualified me for psoriatic arthritis, and started prescribing a treatment, a drug called methotrexate. Methotrexate is about 40 years old. The biggest problem with it is that it'll kill your liver. So when you're taking it every 3 months, you have to have blood work done to check on your liver, and every 6 months, you actually have to have a visit with your rheumatologist. Oh, that's swell. So what my cardiologist was seeing in the MRI stress test that cost $6,000, were never associated with what my pulmonologist was seeing, which was 2 spots on my lungs, which eventually disappeared anyway, and also the aneurysm, which here I am now moving to Tigard. Lost Daryl after about 4 years. Daryl and I were together for about 4 years. Unfortunately, Daryl had a liver transplant, and uh, eventually cancer killed him. So here I am in 2004, almost a widow, and I'm looking for another relationship. And so I go out looking on Facebook dating specifically. I find out that there's a lot of young men out there who've been married to or partners with older men, substantially older men, and they love the situation. And then they lose that older man. And so they're looking for another older man. And I found 4 people like that. They were all perfectly suitable, I'm sure. They would have made good partners, all of them. They all had their different idiosyncrasies. But one of them just stood out. One of them was somebody that I just had so much in common with. And we met. And we fell in love. And we're going to get married this fall. And I want to go back to Paris. But I don't want to go to Paris huffing and puffing. I want to go back to Paris able to walk around just like I did 2 years ago before I started taking methotrexate. Now, a rheumatologist moved to Denver and left me high and dry with no rheumatologist. My Providence primary care physician referred me to OHSU Pulmonology Department, which is the first group that diagnosed this condition. And she gave me the wrong phone number, so I never did get an appointment with them. So what I found was that, well, and then uh, United Healthcare and Providence had a parting of the way, and now you go into any Providence facility has a Medicare, being covered by Medicare, and using United Healthcare, and they'll simply tell you that they don't take it anymore. Goodbye. You go find somebody else. So I'm now with Praxis, which is fine. It's a local Northwest medical team, medical group, and but I'm just getting reestablished. This is like the third time I've had to reestablish just because I managed to move 45 miles up the road to be with my future husband in this condo on a golf course. At any rate, and you young people, you fucking dumb shits, either you voted for this idiot that we call our president and all the idiots that he's chosen to be in his cabinet, or you didn't bother to go vote. You still stuck your face behind some computer screen someplace playing games. not doing your duty as citizens. And this is what you got. This is what you created. You created monster, this monster who rapes, who commits murders daily. And it reflects on you. It reflects on me. So wake up, motherfuckers. Good God. Vote in November. Get off your fat ass and get to a poll. He doesn't want you to vote because he knows he's on his way out. That's enough. That's enough politics for now. Back to medicine, but then they are related. So essentially what it boils down to, I go to my new rheumatologist, who happens to be in Salem, so I have to drive 45 miles to see the rheumatologist. And first thing she says, she looks at my last blood work and she says, well, number one, you have an infection somewhere in your body. And I say, well, yeah, I have these teeth. One was abscessed and actually it was worse than abscessed in December. And the next one needs to be pulled. And she didn't seem to be too impressed. I was. It was like, I'm having my teeth knocked out. Well, she says, well, here's the thing about methotrexate. It is used to control what I now have been diagnosed with, something called interstitial lung disease, which typically includes people who have hypersensitivity pneumonitis and psoriatic arthritis. Typically, those people are going to end up in this subgroup who could benefit maybe from methotrexate for their arthritis. However, if you take too much methotrexate, it can cause interstitial lung disease. So it was like I looked at what I was doing, and I was taking that shit. He had me taking 6 tablets every Sunday, and it was working great on the arthritis. But all of a sudden, I'm short of breath, and it just got worse and worse and worse. So 3 weeks ago, after visiting the rheumatologist, she didn't tell me to stop the methotrexate. All of a sudden, it's like, you dumb shit. This is just like, you might as well just have a bunch of black mold in front of you and just sit there and breathe in it, because you take this shit into your body every week that's causing a reaction in your lungs. So I just stopped cold turkey. I don't take methotrexate. If that means I have to do something else for my arthritis, that'll just have to be the case. And of course, what happens? Well, my shortness of breath gets better. I've been sitting here talking to you for almost a half hour, and I haven't been short of breath the entire time. Previously, I would have had to have stopped every 2 minutes probably, just to catch my breath. So I don't. Half hour is about all you can tolerate here. You young people have the attention span of gnats. So all I can say is fuck you all. You're gonna be here someday. Wake up, smell the roses. Jeez, take care of yourself. Take care of your country. You don't have to go to war. You don't have to join the army. Just vote. Just don't let some dictator control your life. Good God. All right, that's it for now. Bye.